Welcome to the Management Advantage, where we want to help you gain the advantage through proper land management. With your hosts, Richard Tharp and Chuck Sykes, who are dedicated to sound wildlife management practices and principles that will help both landowners and sportsmen get the optimum potential from their land. Folks, we would like to hear from you concerning any questions or comments you may have for us. You can reach us through our website at www.wildlife-management.com. We will be looking forward to hearing from you.
Boy, turkey droppings and deer droppings everywhere, and that crimson clover's already starting to head out.
I can't believe how far it's came. I mean, this is from what it was to what it is now. This is amazing.
6 months later, it changes a lot of things, don't it?
It does, doesn't it? Folks, welcome to the Management Advantage. If you remember last week, we showed you the 5 basic components of a food plot. Today, we're going to take it a step further and show you how to construct this food plot.
Now, as you recall, the first and most important component of a food plot is the location. Now, the reason I selected this spot was because I've got 2 hardwood heads that come together and go down to the main creek. So I wanted my food plot to run in between these heads, long and narrow. This will give my turkeys a place to roost along the edge of the food plot. It'll give me a place to bow hunt when the oaks start dropping acorns, and it gives the deer a good travel corridor between the food plot and the actual bedding area. Now, since this place was clear cut when we got it, I get to start from scratch. I get to construct the food plot as well as the habitat around it. So once the food plot is constructed, then my job turns from location into the feeding and bedding cover that needs to be around this food plot. That we will tackle next week. But for right now, that we have selected our site, now it's time to actually bring the equipment in and start the food plot site prep. Now, when you're doing this, real important to use a root rake on your equipment so you do as little soil damage as possible. And we'll bring in the backhoe, we'll pop up all the stumps, we'll take the root rake, put it on the bulldozer, and use a bulldozer to push and pile. That way we leave 90% of our topsoil on our food plot. You do not want to take a straight blade and push your food plot out because you're losing a lot of the good nutrients that you need to grow a good food plot. So be real careful not to impact the soil too bad. You're going to lose some, but try to do as minimal damage as you can when you're placing your field.
Well, this is looking really great. You know, I like this.
Well, folks, we're going to take you a little step back in time and we're going to show you the progression of how it went from nothing to what we're standing in right now. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Stick around. The Management Advantage will return shortly.
The reason we want to put that root rake on is because we don't want to disturb the topsoil. You're going to lose some anyway, it doesn't matter what you do, but putting that root rake on, those teeth are about 6 to 8 inches longer than the blade. So it lets the dirt and stuff filter back up under the blade so you don't move as much. So Archie's going to clean off around the stumps and everything. We're going to push up windrows against the wood line. We'll leave breaks every 30 or 40 yards to give the deer and turkey something to walk through. Also, when you're planting this, pick you out a good bow hunting tree, put a break around it where they can't walk up under you, and leave you a 20-yard break on either side so you'll have a good shooting lane. You want the deer to come at 20 yards, put you a break here, a break here, leave them a walkway away from your tree. So think about all this while you're putting it in. You're not just going in and putting it. Plan it out, plot your strategy, figure out what you're going to do, and it'll all lay in nicely.
Chuck, now that the bulldozer backhoe has got the site prepared, what's the next step?
Well, Rick, after the site prep has been completed, then the next step is going in and taking a soil sample so we can send it off to Auburn University and we can get our liming recommendations as well as our fertilizer recommendations.
Well, folks, we've been telling you, you need to lime and you need to do all these different things preparing your soil. But Chuck, my question is, how do I know, how much I need or if I even really need it?
Well, with this, it's bare ground. This is one of the bug spots that we found this summer. So we're going to turn this into a food plot. First thing you need to do is take a soil sample, so you can see if you need to lime and what kind of fertilizer you need to use.
Well, Chuck, how do you go about and get a soil sample? I mean, what's the procedures for this?
What you do is you go by your county extension office, Soil Conservation Service, county extension office. Every county has got one. Look it up in the phone book. Go by and they will give you these soil sample boxes. This is a soil probe, and you take X number of samples out across this field, take it back to your extension agent, and they'll send it off. We're real fortunate right here. I can get these boxes and I can take them directly to Auburn University where they've got the soils lab, and they run a test and send me back a piece of paper that says you need to put this amount of lime and this amount of fertilizer for the specific crop that you want to grow.
Well, it says here that we need to take a sample of 20 or more places, and this to represent the whole area, and it needs to be about a pint of soil. So
Right.
I'm assuming this box holds about a pint.
And all we need to do, you don't want to take all your samples from one spot because
Right.
the soil might be a little bit different in this end of the field to that end of the field. So we just walk around, take a couple of probe samples, dump it in there till we get a full box, close it up and mail it. That's all it is to it. In a few weeks you'll get the recommendations back from what they found in the sample.
So in other words, basically we just take just spoonfuls here and there.
You don't have to have a probe. This is what it's designed for, but you can do it just with a shovel.
Well, let's take some.
All right. And folks, when you're taking a sample in this new ground, it's going to be plowed. If you look at something real careful, see that's a different color. That's where your topsoil is. We're not going to be fertilizing this. When we come in and plow this ground, we're going to turn it under. This is what we need to fertilize. This is what we need to lime. So take that top 2 inches and just discard it. Take these next 5 inches. That's what we want to get the analysis on because that's what's going to be growing our crop.
Now once you get your box done and your sample taken, you need to be sure to put your name and address. The 2 last things on here is the field name and the crop to be grown. The field name is important for your records because when it comes back, if you have more than one field, naturally you may get them mixed up. The last is the crop. Now this is very important because if you're going to grow different things on different fields, it takes different amount of fertilizer. So if you have the kind of crop you're going to put on, then they can be more specific as to if you need lime or how much and this sort of thing. So be sure and fill out the last 2 items on this box.
Soil sample said we needed to get about 2.5 tons of lime per acre. And we're still going to put our 400 pounds of triple 13 down. So we're going got the local company to bring their trucks in and spread it. It just works a whole lot easier that way. You can spread it yourself, but one price, they bring it out, spread it for you. Then once we get it spread, then we bring the tractors in, harrow it in, wait a week or 2, get some rain on it, and then we'll come back and plant.
Don't go away. Chuck and Rick will be right back.
Well, Chuck, we've got the site prepared, we've got our soil samples back, we've got the field lime, we've got the seed and fertilizer. And now being this is a winter food plot, when is the proper time for us to plant?
Usually down here in the South, people start planting on Labor Day. All the hunting clubs can get everybody together Labor Day weekend where they've got help and they can get it planted. And I understand the logistics and everything, that's a good time to do it. But typically, We get a little rain right after Labor Day, the fields get up about that high, it turns off dry, and they die and they have to come back and replant. So what I like to do, I'll wait till the end of September or the 1st of October even, and wait till I know I'm gonna have some moisture coming before I waste my time and money putting this food plot in. So just depending on the moisture levels, from September to the 1st or middle of October is the best time to plant a winter food plot. Now, if you were wondering what Lee James was doing with that crimson clover, he was applying inoculant to it. So what the inoculant does is it aids in germination. Now, I'm not saying it won't germinate without the inoculant on there, but that inoculant binds to the seed coat and helps break it down so you just get better germination. Now, the way to apply it, if you watched him closely, all he did was pour the clover out of the sack into a 5-gallon bucket, dampened it with a little bit of water, and then sprinkled the inoculant on it, mixed it up with his hand. Nothing fancy, and that inoculant would just speed up and give you a better germination rate on your clover. Now, when I'm planting my winter food plot, I like to use my John Deere grain drill, of course. I've got a small hopper on the front for my clover. The reason I put it up front, see these tubes right here, let the clover fall out on top of the ground. You don't want it to go in with your wheat and fertilizer, it'll be buried too deep. So these tubes go out the back. The packing wheels, you scatter a little bit of dirt, cover it up just a little bit, because the clover, you can't put it in the ground too deep, it won't come up. So I put about 30 pounds of clover in my small hopper. I put a bushel to 2 bushels of wheat. I'm heavy-handed, so I usually put 2 bushels. A bushel is enough, but I like to use about 120 pounds of wheat, and I use 400 pounds of triple 13 per acre. By using this grain drill, I can plant my clover, my large seed, put my fertilizer out, all with one swipe, and I don't have to come back 2 or 3 times over it. It makes it real efficient. Now, this small hopper has got a setting and got the calibration chart just like the large hopper and just like the fertilizer hopper. So I want to put about 30 pounds of clover per acre. So I've got my calibration set on 9. Just fill it up, close the lid, let her go.
Well, folks, the food plot's finished, the grass is growing, so let's go with Chuck as he takes his good friend Kevin Harding from Motorola on a management doe hunt. Button buck? See if your 9 out of 10 rule applies.
I think the deer in the back is the doe.
Yeah, they're straight up.
You see if you can tell.
I'm not seeing any nubs. I can't tell. I'm going through
her too much time.
Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Just take your time. If you can't get comfortable, just keep wiggling around until you do. Tell me before you shoot.
I will.
Can you get comfortable? Sorta.
Sort of. Still wobbling a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna take it.
All right, right in the shoulder. Have a deep breath.
What is it?
It's pretty good.
Is it? Jesus. Where's it? I got it right on top of it.
But you killed it.
As long as I got her, that's the main thing.
You got her.
Blood for blood. Well, we got her. Shot a little low, and I'm using a friend's rifle who's about 1.5 feet shorter than me. So it's about 6 inches off the gun. She jumped up and bit me, so I think I caused as much blood to myself as I did to the deer. We got what we came out here for, about a 6-month-old doe. Well, we needed to clean out here before the end of the season.
Stick around. The Management Advantage will return shortly.
I'm gonna tell you what, Kevin got what he wanted. That was a nice management doe.
That was the deer we were looking for.
Well, you made a statement in there about a 9 out of 10 rule. What's this?
All right, there's several 9 out of 10 rules that apply when you're talking about harvesting antlerless deer. When people come down here and I tell them I want to shoot a 60 to 100 pound doe, they get scared because they're scared they're gonna shoot a button buck. I don't like to shoot my brood doe, so I like to keep the poundage down low. And there's a couple of 9 out of 10 rules that will help you decide whether it's a button buck or a doe. Most importantly is the way they hold their ears. Now, a little buck's ears are gonna be sitting out to the side like this, where little does are gonna be straight up. Now, don't look at the base of his ear, look at the tips. The tips on a buck are gonna be cocked out to the side and the little does are gonna be straight up. Can't make a mistake if you just look at his head.
What's the other 9, 10?
Well, first deer on the field, don't shoot it. Typically, the deer that Kevin took, that broke the rule. So you got to fall back on your ear tips. But typically the first deer on the field is gonna be a button buck. The last deer to leave the field is gonna be a button buck. A lot of people make mistakes. If they shoot a buck on the field and then they decide they're gonna take a doe, they shoot the last one standing, it's gonna usually be a little button buck too. And he's gonna be a little stockier built, more rambunctious because he's just a little boy out there playing around. So, you know, use all of those keys and you won't make a mistake. Winter food plot construction and design, as you can tell from today's show, is a major undertaking if it's done properly. So today we've just taken you through one portion of it, and that is picking out the location and establishing your food plot. Now next week, we're going to show you how to actually create the habitat around the food plot to make for a good hunting place.
And folks, as always, we're here to help you gain the advantage through proper management. See you next time on the Management Advantage.
Folks, we would like to hear from you concerning any questions or comments you may have for us. You can reach us through our website at www.wildlife-management.com. We will be looking forward to hearing from you.